Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Class 1A podcast. My name is Andrew Nimskin, as always, and alongside me I have James Graham and Dylan Beal to dive into the last episode of the first arc of Season 5. So with this, is pretty obvious. We have all five fights done. They did the final result. We are finally getting close to the end of the first arc, so we get to recap everything that happened in today's episode, our Brawl, which is episode 11 of the season, and just two questions for you guys. One, what do you guys think of the episode pretty quickly? And then one, how's this standing for an arc for you guys so far?
I think it was fine. Yeah, I thought it was. I thought this episode was just fine. Definitely not my favorite fight, but obviously the episode and like the previous episode wasn't really about the fight. It was more about Deku, which I think was totally fine. But as an arc, I really like this arc. I love the arcs of like where there's like the students fighting against students, because it gets to show us like a different side of their quirks a little bit. So I don't know. I always really like it.
I think this arc ranks like decently well for me. Like I'm always a fan of like a chance to showcase how well the animation can be for this show. As far as episodes though in this arc, I think this is probably my second least favorite, maybe my least favorite. Just because of the layering on of flashbacks. Like I mean, I get like it's a Deku centric fight, and not only that but episode as well. But I found it was really overused, and I'm just gonna chalk it up to them blowing the budget on like the Todoroki fight and stuff like that. You gotta recycle some of the material.
And yeah, and I guess I'll start with the arc first. Is that moment to moment by far not my favorite arc, but it has some of my favorite moments that I can remember. It had some really good moments here that really stood out to me. And the episode, I agree, definitely not the best of the series, but coming off the Bakugo Blackwhip back-to-back episodes, it's going to be really hard to kind of top that. Even with some of the other best episodes or normal episodes from previous seasons, all would have really paled. And I think James just doesn't like it because it is Deku-centric and he has an issue with the main character.
No, man,
that's the real issue
Shinso,
here.
Though, like that balances it out. Like I love Shinso, even though he's getting his ass kicked. But I mean, like I still love seeing him. So I mean, it counts for something, right?
Well, we'll talk about everything that happened in the episode and give more of our thoughts later on. But before we do that, if you guys enjoyed this episode, or if you're looking for other My Hero content, make sure to subscribe and like on our YouTube channel. We're doing a bunch of My Hero Academia content each and every week, and hopefully doing even more soon. Otherwise, if you're on the road, you drive a lot, and you want to listen to the podcast version, you can also find that everywhere. Apple, Spotify, Pocket Cast, whatever you listen to are going to be there. So you can go over and find us there at the Class 1A podcast. And that is going to, leaving a 5-star review on that is a huge help to us as well, helping other people find the podcast. But with that, let's jump into our quick recap of everything that happened in episode 11 of season 5, our Brawl. The episode starts off with a brief recap of the Blackwhip situation and then jumps right back into where both classes are fighting. The teachers could discuss stopping the match, but Aizawa insists that it continues, saying that he's confident that 1, he can stop Deku's new quirks and Shinso is able to stop it. And 2, everyone is very determined to keep fighting and to win, so he doesn't want to end it yet, but he will if the quirk comes back. Mineta is actually being somewhat useful in this fight, but at the same time at his peak perviness, using a couple of unique kind of super moves throughout the fight. Monama tries to take one for all while monologuing, but after so, it ends up being a blank for him. Deku goes up to start chasing and fighting Shinso now. We get a handful of Shinso flashbacks, and some fight pipes begin to fall down onto Deku, but Deku is able to momentarily use Blackwhip to stop them, but then has to drop the pipes due to a large spike of pain, kind of saying that, oh, I can't really use this even at 20%, I'll use all this later once I master one for all. Uraraka takes Monama to jail. He's talking and being himself the whole time. We do learn, though, that his quirk is able to still use the aftermath of a quirk that he stole, even after the 5 minutes is up. So if he makes something big using Rule's quirk, it's going to stay big afterwards. In this situation specifically, if he touches something, but even after the 5 minutes, he can still use Twin Impact, which he does do during the fight when Deku was chasing Shinso. As Deku is hit by the delayed Twin Impact, and it looks like Class 1B is about to win. However, Deku finally gets his shit back together, and Uraraka shows up to the battle, quickly taking care of Rule and Emily. Deku wraps Shinso's binding cloth around him, pulls him in, and then throws him down to the ground, capturing him. And pretty much at that point, there's a couple more scenes, but the fight is over with 4 officially in jail, and Rule still stuck in place due to Mineta's balls. Deku, I guess Shinso talks to Vlad and Aizawa, knowing pretty much that this was his chance to get in the hero course and that he wasn't super proud of how he did, saying that he couldn't do anything on his own. But they all go back to the debrief session where there's a couple little conversations going on here, mainly about Deku's new quirk, Uraraku's reaction time and kind of how she's grown as a hero, and Shinso kind of monologuing a little bit about the hero course, and Aizawa wrapping it up with his own discussion about how everyone's working to keep that plus ultra mantra and so on. And then in the preview, I haven't really mentioned in the last couple weeks, but we do just see for a second, next week is just going to be a huge lore episode. Pretty much, I forgot what the title was, but it's pretty much just talking about the 6 quirks and One for All and all this kind of stuff that enveloped in the last 2 episodes. So I guess there's anywhere we can kind of go with this. We already know all of our opinions that this wasn't our favorite episode, but I still think that there's a couple of good things to really talk about here. We'll start off with kind of the fun things or just kind of general topics before moving into the bigger ones. But I guess my first question I want to lead off all of this with is, if Mineta is using his super move where he's bouncing around all over the battlefield with his ball, and he runs in to Tetsu at full steal, does Mineta die?
Absolutely. Without a doubt, he dies. Yeah.
Like, I feel like even with a not like hardened person, that's still going to kill him in some situations.
Well, like, what if he hits the top of his head? Don't his balls like ricochet him off though? Like, isn't his like? Did they need to detach, or is it like a helmet? You know what I mean? Like,
because wouldn't it theoretically stick to anyone else? So I guess he does have some cushion there. But I'm like, fine. He runs face first into air wall or whatever.
He's done for,
like I'm just thinking about like this is not a very good super move. Because if he runs into anything hard, he just dies.
I think like the only one the going good one he's come up with is like Grape Rush. Like all the other ones have just been massively self-destructive or to his own gain.
Buckler was a very cool quirk. Like I'll actually give it to you. This is probably one of the first times I've ever actually said, "Wow, Mineta's actually doing something." Like in every
immediately,
God,
like immediately as soon as he does something though, they have to turn it into a joke. They can't they can't let a king shine.
Well, I mean, the king has his own agenda, and he got it right.
Yeah, the only reason he shined is because of that agenda. So I just want to start off with that. But I know, James, you want to talk about Monama and Shinso. Dylan, I don't know if there's anything you specifically want to talk about.
I just want to talk about Monama as well.
Yeah, there we go. Sick.
He was awesome, wasn't he?
Yeah, no, Monama like has quickly grown like as like one of my like just absolute favorite characters. I think it might be just how well he leans into his role of recognizing that he's not a main character and knowing that he needs to have as much impact as he can as this like character who's like kind of often not in the spotlight. And like they even have a really nice scene where it basically shows like, you know, the big 3 of Class 1A, right? And Monama being drastically outshined by them and him trying to make an impact otherwise. But not only that, but him being like fairly like creative and like just a real thorn in everybody's side. I mean, like, I want to say, like, if Deku wasn't Deku, I think he won that fight for Shinso. Like, not only that, but how they present it, where he's like basically he's got his hands bound, he's like looking into the distance, and he just says like fire, like that. It was so cool. It was so. It
just
cool
gives off evil mastermind vibes. He's really like, what I get more and more. He's like he's scored from everyone else being more powerful, never having a quirk. Like he just gives off really good villain vibes. And like if he turned bad, I'd be all for it. Could see it. And would love that arc.
But the thing is, he likes being this secondary character way too much that I don't think he'll ever turn. No. The other thing is too is like the moment I saw like the green crackle start coming off of him, I'm like, here it is. Monama's just gonna pop off. He's gonna go crazy, right? And then of course like Deku's like, oh no, your fucking body can't take it. And then
it just ended up being a blank anyways. I mean,
I know, but like, which makes sense because of all like, you know, as we're quickly finding out all the inner workings of, you know, One for All. It's just like it doesn't make sense for somebody to be able to copy it like as Monama kind of does. But that split second, there's like, and like you'll see it on our Twitter. I grabbed a screen cap of Monama's face just lit up when he's got One for All in him. This way, the fact he doesn't know what he's got going on, he thinks it's super strength, right? So
do we
like imagine that though, Larry? Is he just like goes for the punch? And just it's like Deku season 1 of where he just explodes everything, including his own arm.
Oh yeah,
I was about to say like we think that's what would have happened if he would have been able to use it because he probably can't. Well, he doesn't know that he has to use it probably at a lower level like Deku does. So we just assume Monama would have been seriously injured there, and Deku probably would have been in really bad shape too, taking a full punch.
Yeah.
Because it would have been
But I like as far
100%.
as like
Would 100% punch kill Deku?
I don't.
If he wasn't prepped for it, probably. But like, I don't know. I think if he like knew it was coming in some sort of capacity, like
Yeah.
he could
He would have
survive
been
it.
able to brace for it, yeah. And like, I mean, there was that clear like realization of like, oh shit, he's about to try it, right? So
Yeah.
I think he would have been fine, or not fine. He would have been probably beat up, but yeah, it would have been like season 1 Deku all over again of Monama blowing his arm apart, but like doing massive amounts of destruction. So
Yeah, because besides from the robot in season 1 and One for All, we haven't seen anyone take a full 100% smash, have we? Not really.
Yeah,
I mean,
the muscle dude,
Oh,
right?
Muscle
yeah,
Dude.
that was like
and,
that was like 1,000,000% or something like that, wasn't
yeah,
it?
and
Like,
the Nomu as well, because Deku didn't break his arm at that point too, like in season 1 at USJ. But like pretty much in every other situation, they all had some kind of absorption ones, or it was a robot. So we've never seen a normal person take 100% punch before.
I guess like whoever All Might was fighting, like I mean,
But no,
Yeah,
we learned that All Might said he doesn't use 100% all the time.
that's
Mhm.
true, yeah. So I mean, yeah, like I think it would have been really cool as like a lore building moment too to see how it reacts with other people who aren't like attuned. You know what I mean? I think it would have been really really neat.
Attuned. I like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I guess anything else on Monoma, again, I agree that he's quickly become one of my favorite. He's my favorite Class 1B character now. I mean, Tetsu, Kendo are definitely up there before, but
That's so good.
these last couple of episodes have definitely changed my outlook on him. I guess up until now, he just had the one gimmick. He's always been one-sided. Oh, making fun of Class 1A, chop. And that's all we ever got out of him. But kind of learning more about him, he's phenomenal, and I hope we get more.
There's just so many more layers. There's so many more layers to him, right? It's great.
I mean, I think this just really shows off, and we talk about this all the time, but like Horikoshi is just so good at writing characters that these are like, this is what the arcs are really designed for. It's like, all right, I wrote all these amazing characters with a ton of really cool quirks. I know we're on the main character 90% of the time, but let's have this like one type of arc of where we just jam those characters in and they could just do cool stuff. And
Yeah.
I think that's where like the series really shines is in arcs like this, because they're able to like pull Deku out of situations and like make it make sense that he's just not constantly in there. And so
Yeah.
I just love it. I just love all his characters so much.
So like I mean, think about these fights. Like think about like how much like development we've had between like Tetsu, Kendo, Shinso, Monama. Like I mean, we've seen some like crazy stuff, and these are characters who up until this point really haven't had that much spotlight. But like Dylan said, Horikoshi has built them up. So, like there's so much to go off of on these characters that when they get put in, none of them feel rigid, none of them feel weird. Like these are all like you'd believe that you've seen this character the entire series, and and like it doesn't feel out of place.
The sad part is though, we probably won't see any of them for another couple of arcs.
I know, that's how it's gonna go.
With how little we see them, like, oh, we're gonna have to jump back into a big fighting arc probably. Then there's going to have to be a very deadly emotional arc, then the fun arc, and then maybe another like Class 1B, Class 1, like another school.
Yeah, maybe we get a beach episode with everybody in. Like,
oh, I hope we get a beach episode with everyone.
No,
beach episodes make anime, man.
But that's the sad part. Like, as much as you guys are saying is that how cool all of these characters are. Like Mudmat, we have never seen the dude before outside of like just kind of seeing him in backgrounds before. Now he's a super cool character I want to see more of. Who knows if he'll ever get the spotlight again? In the rest of the series is kind of how weird My Hero is and how much centric it is focused on Class 1A. I think all the character growth in Class 1A was really good, but even so, you only saw the character growth in Class 1A for the main characters. Like all the side characters for Class 1A didn't really get much growth. Mineta didn't, Mina didn't, Shoji didn't. I'm pretty much all the people that have always kind of been the back cast of Class 1A had no growth. So again, the only growth they're going to really see coming out of this whole arc is the main characters and mostly Deku, maybe Shinso, if he actually does get into one of the classes.
Okay, I want to push back on the Mineta no growth. We've only had one D-Gen moment this whole season so far.
Two.
That's growth.
I mean, I guess they're back-to-back, so it could be one big moment.
Yeah, it's one. We'll count it as one. But I think that's growth. I think that's clearly growth. But I think the thing that makes me excited, though, about the future of this, though, is we can get this now with, like, other situations. Like, we keep getting these injects of, like, cool new characters. I just, like, have hope that, like, whatever arc that we're going to go to, it's going to be like, hey, here's just a ton of new characters I just invented now. they feel super real. They feel well rounded, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's never any doubt when a new character comes in, they're not like well thought out. And like, I mean, think back to like Bravada, oh my god, Bravada and
La Brava and
La
Gentle.
Brava and yeah, Gentle Criminal. Like think of it like when they first were introduced, you're like, what the fuck is
Oh,
these
I
guys'
hated them.
sticks? Yeah, I know you did. You absolutely despise Gentle Criminal, right? And like, he just turned out to be, again, there is so many layers to him. He was so well thought out. The two of them, like, they were a great pair. Like,
and it progressed the story too.
Yeah.
Like his character itself progressed and like added to like the world. Or even think about the like the raid arc, right? Like you had a bunch of new pro heroes that were super cool and interesting, and then you had a bunch of villains that were just super cool and interesting that we've never seen. They were used in one situation, and then they're gone forever.
Yeah.
Which still makes for really good moments. And I guess the other character that we had to talk about this episode, obviously, we'll talk about Deku's quirk and such of that later on, but Shinso's probably the other main character that kind of got a spotlight this episode, obviously having a ton of flashbacks. We know this kind of being his chance to get in the hero course. So, based on both of his sites now, question number 1, do you believe Shinso should get into the hero course? Just based off of what we've seen.
So I mean, I think it's not fair to judge him at all on this second fight, like on this last fight. I don't think it's fair for him. He's against Deku, right? Like, I mean, and Deku was like gunning for him 100%. So I almost want to call this one like a mulligan and just basically see how he reacts with everybody else. And he did have that, like, you know, that big hero saving moment of, you know, snapping Deku out of going like, you know, full Akira, right? So I think like he was definitely shaky and rusty out the first one, and then this one he had some like redeeming qualities despite being faced against Deku. So I think he deserves it. I think there's far more useless people in, like, you know, class 1A and 1B that you could probably swap somebody out.
Yeah, I definitely think he belongs in the hero course. I think he's still bottom rankings in terms of power level, but like I think you need to have him in the hero course to even have a chance of making up. You can't do solo study and catch up with these classes. Like they're gonna outpace Shinso incredibly fast if he doesn't get in the hero course. So I think he probably deserves to be in there, especially how quickly he picked up the what is Aizawa's raps?
The
raps,
binding wrap.
Yeah, the binding. Like considering how quickly he picked that up and just how toe to toe he's standing with both of the classes, he absolutely deserves to be in. I think the fight I wish we could, because like I know it's like the whole like he wanted the rematch against Deku, but like he's the main character. It's not fair. I want to see him against Bakugo. Can he push his buttons enough
to get him to get Bakugo to? I don't like, and this is the
Not
thing,
anymore.
man. You can yeah. I think it's a not anymore thing. I think like Bakugo Sports Festival, 100%, absolutely. But now like Bakugo is just so. I said this before we started recording. He's full Vegeta. He's literally everything that Midoriya is, just like a nice, darker, more aggressive iteration, and it makes him so good, man. So I don't think he would slip up against Shinso.
He wouldn't lose. He'd rather die than lose. So he'd be able to hold his mouth for a 20-minute battle and then just let it all out afterwards.
Or he'd get one of his using the same teammates, he would get what's his face to just tape his mouth closed, because he probably he knows himself that well. You know what I mean? Like he knows himself and he thinks so many steps ahead that I think he would just find a loophole.
And Bakugo is basically main character 2.0, so I wouldn't say that's any more fair going against him.
So wait, I have a question about Shinso's quirk then.
Okay.
So his quirk gets activated if you respond to him.
Yes.
Correct.
What is that? What is it? Is it the intent to respond to the voice? Is it actually like sounds coming out of your mouth? Can you respond by just like making a noise? If someone completely like closes your mouth with like tape or whatever, if you intend to talk, will he get you? Because like you're still talking, like the sound's blocked, but he's just talking.
But you are acknowledging Shinso, right? So that is that the trigger for the quirk, right?
Yeah, like okay, let's take this like even further. What if someone can't talk, right? What if they what if someone signs and you sign back to Shinso after hearing him? Will that trigger it?
I don't know. I want to know if it. I want to say it's audible. I want to say it's an audible response.
So does that mean like people who can't talk, or maybe people with like a quirk of like telepathy cannot get brainwashed by him then?
That's
No,
layers.
he
Andrew's
can
looking it up right now.
only activate the power when his target verbally responds to something he says. Brainwashing needs to be intentionally activated and will not take effect if Shinso doesn't want it to. So he has to. So a mute person would be able to beat the shit out of Shinso.
Or somebody who signs it. Yeah, like
Yeah.
something like that.
Okay.
So I guess the tape covering and like the grunts or trying to talk through that, I would probably say counts, but I wouldn't say just like a grunt in his direction would count. But if someone's trying to talk to him and actually has the ability to talk, I think would affect it. Because it doesn't seem like Shinso has to hear the person respond, just the person has to respond towards Shinso, which is just all, I mean, it's quirk. It's pretty much magic at this point of how that kind of makes sense. But
It's magic.
We have to justify our magic, though.
Yeah,
it needs to be grounded somewhere.
It needs to be logical magic.
Yeah, there's
and I guess they can't go through megaphones or anything kind of like that. So Shinso's always going to be within distance that someone responding can hear and all that kind of stuff. But it's super interesting nonetheless. And I don't know. I think if Shinso doesn't get in the hero course now, he never had, like, he'll have to just go back to the beginning of year one. Like, he'll be so far behind this current group and you have to go into a different one. So now's his last chance. So I hope we find out. I mean, next week's going to be a big lore episode. They might talk about it then. Like, oh yeah, Shinso will be joining the class early next year and we'll have private lessons with Aizawa for the rest of this year to kind of keep him so he's not too far behind. Or maybe a couple arcs. Maybe it's next year at the beginning of the year he shows back up. I mean, we didn't learn this chapter. So this episode. So if we don't learn next episode, I don't know when we will.
Yeah, like when are they gonna revisit it?
Because once they move on to the next arc, it'd feel weird just to bring it back. Oh yeah, Shinso's in class now.
Interject. Yeah, we did get a nice glimpse of like Daddy Aizawa with his ponytail and everything like that. Anytime that man puts his hair up, it's just like
question. Which one do we like better? Ponytail Aizawa or
hair up Aizawa is just
it's
just like with the scars and everything like that. Now the man's just got such a look going. Like you can't touch it.
It's the only
slap
option.
him in a suit again. Whew. It's a lady killer right there.
Only option. But I guess with that, we should move on to the main character question. What the hell is going on with Deku's quirk? And I guess more importantly, the one line in this that Dylan kind of pointed out is Deku made a point of saying, I'm not going to use this quirk anytime soon until after I master One for All. Do we really believe this kid is not going to use Blackwhip in the next time he fights? Like, do we really believe he's going to put this on the back shelf after just having it activated until he masters it in a couple months, years, decades?
I don't know. It's such a tease, right? Because it's like this new ability. Oh, wow, new ability. You're going to get 6 new quirks. And it's just like, well, I guess I just can't use this for a little bit. I don't know. I think this is at least a good vehicle to introduce the concept, even if they don't like do all the quirks. Like my guess is like maybe like Blackwhip is the end goal, right? Like maybe that is like the next like super big one, and there's like other ways to get to there because it's like mastering One for All, and maybe like other quirks pop up or whatever that he can master first before Blackwhip. But like I think Blackwhip just seemed like a good way to introduce like the concept of, hey, this crazy new thing is happening.
It's very visual. It's very clear. And it was, I'm assuming, I mean, I don't know how many more quirks can have such a visual outbreak. I mean, if it was something like Float or like something like Uraraku's Float or something kind of like that, and he just started floating away, that doesn't have the same like visual kind of impact that Blackwhip does breaking out. I mean, maybe if it was something like Icy Hot, so or whatever, half cold, half hot, where he just starts shooting fire and ice out of his body. Like the first quirk explosion had to be something visual because, like we were kind of saying last week, some are probably going to be tactical and more support ones. So Blackwhip was a very, very good one to kind of show visually about this, kind of like you were saying. But I don't know. I kind of took it as maybe he just wasn't going to use it in this. I mean, that for sure. So like, oh yeah, we're not using it in this fight anymore. So people were kind of waiting for him to use it. But I just don't believe this kid. I mean, he's going to get in a fight with some villain in 2 episodes from now, be on the brink of death and have to use it. Like, the fact of him not using it for like 6 months until he masters a quirk more is just so unlikely. He is mastering One for All at an incredible speed, already at 20-25% confidently. So it'd be maybe a year before Deku's approaching 80-90%, but I just can't imagine with how much shit they go through that it's going to be that long before he uses it again.
Yeah,
I mean, that's always.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that's always the Deku thing, though. Is like I can't use my power any more than this, and then he gets into a situation he has to use the power more than that. Like that's always a situation. So I don't know. I agree with you. I could totally see the situation of where he's like, oh man, I can't use Blackwhip, and then all of a sudden he just like has to use it for some reason. That's the exact thing I thought of where he like got his Blackwhip tentacles or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Like on the two concrete things. I was like, oh. It's fine. Everything's fine. He's just going to use it now, I guess.
Yeah. And we're going to get 15 minutes of flashbacks, and then he's going to be like, oh, I guess I got to use it now. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen with Deku. Somebody's going to have a building falling on him, and he can't get there quick enough. He's just going to shoot Blackwhip out after like 15 minutes of flashbacks, and it'll be all good. And then we're like, well, I guess we're using it.
What you said just made me think of a really cool thought. What if he could use it like a Spider-Man swings, right? Like swing.
Well, we already got somebody using Spider-Man swings. It's friggin' Aizawa and Shinso.
He's and Sero, yeah.
Wait, can we talk about the binding cloth? Why does it just levitate?
It floats, dude. It's magic.
Is that ever explained? Of like when he was just like facing off against Deku, it started like levitating, and Shinso's hair goes up. Like it's like magnetic or something. I don't get it. Like it doesn't make sense how the binding cloth works. It's cool. I don't need it to make sense. But just the fact that, like, with Aizawa, like, at least his quirk actually makes his hair go up and stuff like that. So maybe it just kind of, like, electrifies his body and gets everything to kind of go up. But I don't get why Shinzo standing there just has floating, like, ropes around him.
Does Shinzo's quirk make his hair go up? I don't think it does.
There's no visual cues.
I think it's probably a support item. Like it's cloth, but I don't think it's just like any.
Well, no, it's
cloth.
made out like titanium, like threads or something kind of like that. I think they talked more about what it's actually made of, but
yeah, I'm sure that's the reason why it floats.
Yep, it's
that's
magic.
the reason. It's
but yeah, I don't know. I'm happy to see Blackwhip, and I don't know. It's sad. Next, who knows? Next week is going to be a big lore dump episode, and maybe they'll find a way that, like, oh, we know someone with almost an identical quirk to you, and we're going to use them to train you. I mean, even the binding cloth kind of training with Aizawa would be somewhat similar. So, I mean, maybe there is a way that it's going to kind of speed it up, because if Blackwhip's not going to be used anytime soon, it wouldn't make sense for another quirk to manifest until he's kind of mastered one, or maybe it will just keep kind of coming out, and he has 4 or 5 that he doesn't use, but it makes more sense for him to use 1 than 2 than 3 from a story aspect, or maybe 2 coming in once and he has to learn 2. So, I don't know. I just want to learn more about the Blackwhip user, meet the other users that we kind of saw in the one image and all that. So,
maybe that's the reason why Shinzo gets in, is to teach Deku, like, because like he's learning the binding cloth, Deku's learning Blackwhip. They're kind of similar. Maybe that's like the in and like the reason why Shinzo is going to be in the hero course.
Training montage.
Yeah, literally training montage.
Yeah,
I just love that, like, they're still at the point where they're like, oh, another bullshit quirk from Midoriya. I guess
they're all just like, this is getting old. Like no one's surprised anymore.
Phased.
Like this is literally such a separate quirk, but they're all just like, oh wow, I didn't even like someone said during the episode.
Yes, I think didn't Zero or Kirishima be like, guess it's not a far way off from like super strength, and it's just like, it's so far off from super strength. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I did. Just they're all just, I mean, I guess having multiple quirks is so mind blowing. Like that's something that no one has. But I mean, I guess icy high. I mean, I half cold, half hot. I mean, that is 2 different quirks built into one. So it could just be Deku manifesting a second quirk. Like there could be reasons of why they aren't as surprised. But that is such a different quirk that, like, there should be more shock to this, which is just the one thing that kind of caught me off guard the entire arc. But
well, it's been one thing with like Todoroki where it's like it's established he has 2 quirks, right? Or he has like or he has 2 elements he controls. But with Midoriya, it's just like, psych, there's another one. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, there has to be some kind of explanation before a third one comes out.
Has to be. Like, I'm hoping we get that next episode where we they break down like, oh, okay, I guess it's kind of believable. This happens before or some shit like that. I don't know.
Yeah. But with that, it's time to begin wrapping up the episode. But most importantly, the Plus Ultra Award. For those that do not know, the Plus Ultra Award is a weekly award we do where we each pick a character that went beyond that went Plus Ultra. And at the end of the season, there'll be one Plus Ultra recipient that went more beyond than anyone else in the season. And Dylan, lead us off with your pick for this week, since last week, both me and James were so bad.
It is easy. And if you do not choose this person, I just don't know where your thinking's at anymore. Because it's easily Monama. Monama is the only one that really went plus ultra this episode. Like, he went above and beyond master planner. Like the whole, like, it gets captured and does twin impacts like within the cage just to throw Deku off just a little bit. That was perfect. Actual plus ultra material. No one else went plus ultra. Deku didn't do anything. He just kind of punched. Uraraka, cool. We know you got gunhead stuff. Didn't do anything cool.
Don't get me started, man.
Mineta, nothing cool. Mina, nothing cool. You can't justify anyone else. It was only Monama.
James?
I can't touch that logic. That's pretty flawless, man. Like, that's pretty locked in. Like, Monama tried his damnedest to, like, swing this in his favor, and he got main charactered. Sometimes it happens. Yeah, sometimes it happens, and he knew. He was like breaking fourth walls that he knew he was getting main character, but he was trying everything to know that he wouldn't get main character, but he did. So you know what? Yeah, I'm down. I didn't have a really good concrete answer coming into this, so I'm glad Dylan laid it out for me, because I was sitting here being like, who did something? I mean, maybe Shinso, maybe because he tried, but I think Monama really did that and then some.
Went above and beyond.
Went plus ultra, yeah.
I feel peer pressured here.
Why? Who are you gonna say?
Say something else, and then you have to justify it, because you can't, and it's only Monama, and you know it.
I can, but you guys aren't gonna like my answer regardless. So why even
he's gonna say Deku.
Say it.
He's gonna say Deku.
Uraraka.
Oh man.
Boo.
I would say last episode, and the fact, she captured
the combination of
people.
the combination of the two, she captured 3 people in this fight single-handedly.
It wasn't single-handedly.
Monama didn't do anything. He monologued the entire time and did one punch to Deku's face. That's all he did the entire episode. Tell me what else he did.
He tried using easily the most.
Did it work?
Doesn't matter, dude. Doesn't matter. Uraraka's just like what? She went hand to hand with a couple long range users and was like, oh, look at me go.
Yeah, I'm trying to become the next president. I ain't gonna get plus ultra because I ain't gonna achieve that either. So let's not go trying to give away awards for people that tried. Everyone tried.
It is about trying, though. That's the whole point of it. Is like you're trying to go above and beyond.
But if you try and go plus ultra and die, you don't get the plus ultra award. You still have to actually pull things off.
That's false. That's false. That's like saying that you would give plus ultra to All Might every single time he like just jumps into a situation and like saves a bunch of people with no effort.
Expected out of Uraraka. No one expected her to do.
It is expected out of Uraraka.
Everyone expected Deku to clean sweep all 5 of them by himself. He took an entire time to take on Shinso. Deku doesn't deserve it at all. Uraraka took out the entire rest of the group pretty much.
Not by herself though. Mina and Mineta were there. No, Mina and Mineta were helping a ton.
They were losing. Get me out of here.
It wasn't single-handedly.
Out of here. We're getting worse. We're getting worse about these plus ultra awards.
I'm sitting with Monama, dude.
Some of us are right and some of us are wrong. It's okay.
No, that's true.
That'll be all for this week's episode of the Class 1A podcast. Thank you all so much for listening to us bicker for the last 10 minutes. But overall, hearing our opinions and thoughts, we'd love to hear what you guys thought about this episode as well. Make sure to leave your thoughts and comments down below in the YouTube video. Tweet us over at twitter.com/class1apod. Over on Instagram with the same handle. You can kind of interact with us wherever you want. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Love to hear about what you think next, Deku's quirks, all kinds of stuff like that. But with that, we'll be back next Sunday with episode 12 of season 5, going over pretty much a big lore dump of One for All things. We will see you all